All right. You ready to do this?
I am.
Jump
ready
right
to
back
do
into
this.
it?
Let's jump back into this.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Tech Tuesday. My name is Ben,
I'm Tim.
and we just got back from NMRA in Gainesville, Florida, and we're jumping back onto a Tech Tuesday with you guys. For everyone that stopped by our booth down there, thank you. That was a cool event for those that love Fords, but there are some of you who are those GM, I don't know, dark side people. I don't know. Maybe Ford's the dark side. I don't know.
I got a huge, a staggering amount of messages about people wondering where I was.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll jump into these questions here on the YouTube channel, and then we'll head over to Facebook and answer some questions there. So let's rock and roll. Ben McCready 2152 says, I have the Jackpot LS system. Did my first fire up Sunday. It's only running on cylinder 5 and cylinder 8. And I will only start and run with the throttle blades slightly cracked open. Haven't had time to troubleshoot anything yet, but cranks is syncing and reading 24x reluctor. I have a spark on all plugs. It seems to hit on all 8. With a shot of brake clean. I will check injectors this week. Just curious if this could be a tuning issue or an issue with injectors. Yeah, there's a read more. I just want to make sure that I'm not leaving out too much more.
Big book.
Yeah. Asking for some insight. Probably something on his end. Maybe not. That's okay, Ben McCready. I have a senior technician here. Hi, senior technician.
Hey.
What's up?
I think you got a bad injector or two. I've seen it. I have seen that recently, actually. There was a Jackpot I was fiddling with and doing a thing on, and I had 2 holes that were colder than the rest, and checked spark and did all the normal things and whatnot. And, got my little stethoscope out. I was listening to the injectors, and I had 2 not clicking. So I pulled those connectors off, put Noid lights in, realized they were pulsing appropriately, and plugged them back in, tapped on the body of the injector. They started clicking, so pulled them all out, flowed them back, ultrasonic them, put them back in, good to go. But that's just what I ran into. I had a couple of holes down, but I would check with your fuel. I haven't ran into one of these that's not doing the appropriate amount of injectors or anything. So I would check that out.
Yeah. And, if I'm assuming on a Jackpot system that there are injectors, so that's probably something we could fix under warranty too, if worst case.
Yeah, if it's our injectors, yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, maybe just replace some.
If those come in, if they were like our injectors and was doing some funny stuff, I would put them on the flow bench and just make sure they were doing everything they're supposed to do and check it all.
Yeah.
Because that's just what I do.
All right.
Mark-NW3DI. The people want to know, because that's who we do this for, is the people.
The people. We do this for the people.
We know more about
for the
two-step
people.
for a Killshot. Killshot doesn't have a 2-step. That's reserved kind of for our ones with the integrated CDI boxes, like the Joker, like the Royal Flush, because it'll have 2-step because of how the spark is handled in that. Now, this does have rev limiter on a Killshot and nitrous input, dip, this, that, and the other. But, yeah, it doesn't have a 2-step. That might be something in the future, but honestly, we're kind of running out of pins on Killshot. We have added extra things in there we didn't plan for, and now it's awesome, and it's getting better and better by the week.
Question 3. Jed Saunders 7782 says, when installing your distributor, you say to set base timing to 15 degrees. My current distributor is set to 12. Do I set it to 12 or to 15? Thanks. I mean, I guess in theory you could set it to 12 and correct it inside the handheld if that was something that you wanted to do.
Yep. If you're the 15 degree thing is really just to correlate the values. You stab it in at 15. It's on 15 on the handheld, which you can change it. You can lock it out and then verify mechanically and digitally. It reads the same thing. Tighten up your distributor, go in there, unlock your timing. It's running time and control. So if it's demanding 30, it's really hitting 30 and not 43, and so on and so forth.
Right.
So that's why we got the 15 degrees. It just really correlates it, and it's kind of a universal startup. So Some like big blocks like lower mounts, small blocks like higher mounts, whatever. But 15 is pretty well right in the middle of it. Should fire up pretty good if you're close to that. It should be under tuning spark basic, and it'll be, let's see, static timing value.
Nice.
So if you want to do it at 12, you just type in 12, save it, and then adjust accordingly to where 12 is 12 on your handheld and 12 is 12 on your balancer itself.
I guess it's your turn. That last one was
No, I got
question.
Jimmy. He said it was junk.
Yeah, but
Sorry, Jimmy.
no, you got to read an actual question.
He's gonna edit the Jimmy stuff out.
I'll leave that one in.
That's fine. Oh,
We're not allowed to have fun in here. Come on.
That's cool. Had the car idling last night. Cool. Gets an error now. Downloaded latest software, so on and so forth. Fuses are good to go. Cannot connect to Jackpot. Please try again. Interesting. So normally when you have no connection to ECU, it's like a voltage-related thing. You've either had like a nasty voltage spike, like you've hooked your positive up to the battery somewhere, or like people will think that 12 volts is 12 volts. So they'll take their 12-volt wire that says go to the battery, and they'll put it on a bus bar or their alternator or their starter or something with 12 volts on it. Will straight smoke anybody's ECU aftermarket-wise. Even the factory ECUs will die that way. It's unfortunate. And we use the battery for its capacitance to filter out bad voltage. That's where I see a lot of the connect timeouts is they'll have hooked to like a starter solenoid or something funny on like a fender in a Ford or something. Or just somewhere weird. But this may be
It could be a lot of things.
It could be a handful of things. It could be a situation where there is enough of the system voltage being drawn through something like a fuel pump or a bad sensor or something funny like that, or something's grounded out, or the V main's hooked up to something. That's I would check.
I mean, he's got 0 reading across everything.
Yeah, it's just not talking to it. I'd make sure the lights on your ECU, you should have like 2 red ones and 2 blue ones. The 2 red ones are going to be on when the system's on. No worries there. And just for thoroughness diagnostics, I just unplug everything except for the battery and the switch 12 volt. I just disconnect everything else and see if you can communicate with the ECU, try to force an update to it, run the wizard again, etc. And then if that seems to work out, start plugging stuff in slowly, because you could just have a bad sensor that decide to short itself out, or while you're doing that, you discover that a little bit of wire got melted on the exhaust manifold, which happens in a weird amount of frequency.
Question 5. Amar Abraham says, I've just installed the Jackpot on my LY6 swap. Whoa. I have an Asus TMAP installed on my manifold. When I run the motor, the handheld does not pick up that sensor. It is showing -40, then -5, and keeps oscillating between the two. Will I need to use an actual manifold air temperature sensor? If so, where should I install it on a stock LY6 truck intake, or do I just need calibration? Wow.
So
TMAP sensor.
If it's a 4-wire sensor, it is a TMAP. 4 letters, 4 pins, 4 wires.
Yeah.
A map sensor is 3. So
correct.
1 pin for each letter. But the thing is, maybe misconstrued there, because it's a whole thing. The TMAP should have an intake manifold air temperature sensor in it.
Yep.
The fact that it's reading -40 to -5 just basically means it's open circuit, so it's not really reading anything.
Yeah.
It's kind of failing redundant there.
Yeah.
The engine coolant temp will do the same thing if you unplug it. Actually, we put some limiters on that, so now if you unplug the coolant temp sensor, it'll go to 122 instead of like -40, so it doesn't try to throw a bunch of fuel at your motor. But yeah, that's make sure it's plugged in. Make sure it's a 4-pin map sensor. If it's a map sensor and you really just select the TMAP, it's going to give you a funny reading anyways.
Yep.
For your map.
Yep.
Anytime you plug in a map sensor and you don't know if you got the right one, just key your vehicle on, look at your handheld, and if it's reading like 100 kPa or 14.5 or 14.7 psi, then you know you're having atmosphere.
Yeah.
Which also, if it's reading 14.7, that means it's exactly 58 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're at sea level.
Nice. That's every single time I do a Killshot install or something or a Jackpot install, I do I make sure I'm at exactly at sea level.
Yes.
And it's 58 degrees outside.
Yes.
I'm no amateur. I'm kidding. Whatever. I'm not good at making the funny car jokes as well as you are.
What? I don't make any car jokes, man. I just preach the good word from the Haynes manual. Eddie Andre.
Good job. Good job.
Update. Ace's fuel injection Killshot quick draw install. First, I need to give a huge shout out to Willie Lynch at Dirty Dirty Racing.
Let's go.
This guy's the best. He is. He's a good dude. I actually talked to him this morning. I like to call him up so he can yell at me every once in a while. Just kidding. Willie's never yelled at me. He really went out of his way to help me out with my setup. I was having major issues with my Killshot. Long story, Killshot's fine. Had 2 bad plug wires that weren't fully connected. Weirdly enough, that was part of the conversation this morning I had with Willie. We'll see. Willie helped me dial the tune in. Quick draw setup shifting is still a little off. That happens. This is fine parameters you got to play with sometimes. He dialed that in pretty quick. He uses a program, sets up parameters, and just plugs in the numbers and drives. I know the program. I will post a link for the program, and when I get home tonight, I have a 98 Chevy 3500 dually. Runs unbelievable now. Wow, what a difference from stock. So if anyone has any questions or run-in issues, hit up Willie. That is true.
Yep.
If you do... Because we can't really offer the tuning here. We do stuff like diagnostics and this, that, and the other. But when it comes to like, hey, I want to get it runs close. It's a little fuely. The cam's too lumpy. It's weird stuff. Call Willie.
Yeah. Just,
we got some other people we're going to add to our
other
remote
people
tune list.
on the
Go to Ace's website. Go to the tuner locator thing. There's like a map. There's a few people out there, and a few of them do remote tunes and are pretty good.
Call Willie. Call Elliot Simmons. I mean, there's all kinds of
Elliot
times
Simmons. That dude's great.
Yep.
They're up
Maryland
area.
But they do
knowledgeable.
Well.
That's an example of 2 very knowledgeable individuals right there that actually know what they're doing.
Yep.
I hate to say it, but they're better than I am at it. I mean, I'm okay tuner. They're great.
Well, I can't read the name. Jackson Sparrow. Hey guys, took my swap for the first drive tonight. Jackpot EFI with trans controller for L80E. As soon as I start driving, my speedometer is maxed right out, and my odometer starts rolling over super fast. What do I need to change to make it read properly? Thanks for any help. Wow.
So
I've never seen that.
Well, that's a whole different thing. There's a good chance that on your 480E, if your speedometer's reading all crazy, I'm not sure how you got that thing hooked up.
Yeah.
Because our system doesn't integrate with the instrument cluster at all.
Right.
Ours doesn't have an odometer either. So that's got to be some kind of weird wiring situation you got going on there.
Yeah.
You could have incidentally put a speed sensor or the wrong speed sensor into your inbuilt turbine shaft sensor, which will plug in weirdly enough, or something odd like that could cause that. Or the pulse count is incorrect.
Mm.
So...
A couple of things.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
There should be a Speedo output as well, but if our stuff's adjusted and calibrated fine, even that Speedo output should be fine. I think it's fine. Was it a white wire or something like that? I don't remember.
It is.
Maybe it was purple.
I think it's white, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, there's a bit of an adjustment for when it's pulsing and when it's sending and what it's doing. So, Corey Fullen, any idea? Well, it's
he's got a picture. He's got a picture here of an open file error, and please turn off the device before trying again. So, just some interesting.
When it's trying to open up and scan for files, and when it says scan USB flash drive files, it's scanning it to look for a very particular structure of it needs to have this file, and then if it has this file and this file, then it can correlate those two and do a bunch of really neat programming stuff. But this just when I see this error right here, this open file error, whatever,
right out the gate,
#01 apostrophe XP something. Anyways, when it sees that little bit of red text, normally it's because if it was downloaded and not extracted but still put on the thumb drive, it'll do that. If it was extracted but not done correctly, it'll do that. If it just, there's a whole host of things. I've had bad flash drives do it. I've had flash drives that were formatted into the wrong format, non-FAT32, that you can put the files on there and it'll just do some wacky stuff because of how it's structured. So this is normally when I see that, it's usually some kind of error with either the file structuring of how it's put onto the flash drive or the flash drive itself.
Yep.
If it's a really huge flash drive, I've seen that too, because it just gets to the point it can't recognize something that huge.
Yep. So yeah, and if you haven't already, go watch that video on how to install, download and install that new software onto your handheld device. Okay. Am I reading it? I can't remember if
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hendrik Zepelt says, does anyone know why my Royal Flush does not start by itself? I have two-step on the gas to start up, and it bogs down by full throttle.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it has no power when I'm driving. Fuel pressure is 43 psi, and it's also shooting out the exhaust.
Interesting. So, some interesting stuff here. Judging by the large plenum intake you shot a video of right there and what is going on, I would highly suggest for your startup, I would go to parked air versus ECT under tuning and idle.
Yeah. Bradley was telling me about that.
I'd add like 40 points across the board on the whole thing. I'd just scoot that whole thing up a bunch.
Yeah.
That'll help out with your startup. For your bog, I would look at acceleration correction versus TPS.
Yeah.
I'd also look at MAP. Enrichment. And add some percentage, maybe 20 points to each one of those. That should help out. I mean, obviously, it's a tuning by means of diminishing returns. So you go into where it's good, you go a little bit more till it's worse, and come back to where great is. And for the shooting out of the exhaust, with not a lot of context on that, if you are decelerating and it's backfiring out the exhaust, you can add a little bit of timing in the follow table, which requires laptop tuning. Or if you're just cruising down the road and it's be popping out the exhaust a whole bunch, I would check your timing. I would verify your timing is correct and locked out and good. Because if you didn't mechanically lock it out and then you didn't correlate the digital versus mechanical values, you're going to run into it's going to be over advancing where it is and causing all kinds of a headache for you there.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to leave on the table here before we wrap up? Nuggets of knowledge. Moments of wisdom.
Knowledge. I watched a YouTube video earlier of a dude transferring one of our throttle bodies over into a progressive setup. Interesting. Nothing I would do because while those rear throttle blades are still closed, they're going to be pumping the adequate amount of fuel in there, pulling it up on top of the throttle blades and then running out the end of the shafts. Yeah. So you're probably going to experience that little hiccup, and it's going to run a little funny. Progressive throttle linkage on a two-barrel setup takes a special kind of strategy, and it's something we'll probably look into for future development, but we don't have it right now. I wouldn't really fool with it on making something progressive. Nothing bad, nothing good, or anything in between. It's just that's something I wouldn't fool with. That and it,
Fair enough.
You have to modify some stuff to make it happen.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode of Tech Tuesday. If you liked it, please leave a like down below. If you have any comments, questions about EFI or ACES EFI in general, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you see Tech Tuesday Media anywhere else on social media, feel free to give it some love. Tim, we are a quarter of the way to 100 on Tech Tuesdays. It's pretty epic.
Yeah, we're gonna do a Tech Tuesday midlife crisis special when we hit like 40 and some change.
Oh man, we'll see.
Vince will buy a Corvette. I'll lose my hair.
Thank you everyone for watching, and like always, we'll see you all later.
Bye now.
Bye now.